Well, first of all, hi, and thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview. The last time we talked was with your previous solo album, the first one back then. So, how are you doing now? How has life been since?
It's been good. It's been very very hectic. I've been keeping myself busy, and it's mostly exciting now because I spent 2 years in the basement basically, and now it's less than a month until the very first live gig, and that feels kind of like this milestone of not just literally getting out of the basement, but also, making music with people again, for people again. So, yeah, that's the main thing on my mind right now, actually, that move back towards the stage and then to have it coincide with the second part of the record release. So it will be a double release show. So it's very exciting, all of it.
Yeah. Well, of course, I guess you've been on stage the first time with the Epica 20th anniversary for a larger audience, of
Yes.
course. But does it feel weird
Yes.
at all for you to be back on stage and preparing for an actual show?
It's very weird. And it's also kind of a sort of situation that I really haven't been in before because uh it's right now it's like 20 songs that have never been 20 plus songs that have never been performed live before. But then also that I kind of made here without the input of like I've programmed a lot of it without the input of people who actually play those instruments. So there was a lot of taking what I've done for the songs and then seeing, okay, how are we going to do this in a live setting? How will it work? Do we need to adjust any of the arrangements? Um, so so it's definitely a lot of work involved for this one, and a lot of things that like everything's just going to feel completely new, uh which is also a reason why, yes, it was very nice to kind of dip my feet in the water again with the Epica gig, even if it's just for the one song, to be there and to be there with them was very cool, of course, to be part of their celebrations. So that was absolutely great. I was really happy that they would have me. But also because everything is so new, it's also very nice that not all of the people on the stage will be so new to me, but that I actually get to do this with, yeah, great musicians that most of them I've been playing for such a long time with already. So, yeah, that's absolutely lovely. That also takes some of the pressure away in a way.
Yeah. Well, obviously, when you were writing these songs, there were no shows yet. So, did you at all think about how to play them live when you were writing them?
I think in the beginning, no. In the beginning, also like with the very first song I wrote for this, like on volume one, for example, I didn't actually think that they would ever be. Well, at first, I didn't even think that they were going to be outside of the Patreon, um, and performing them live wasn't really on my mind because the very idea back when I started Patreon was like really like a side thing from DELAIN. And for the very reason that I didn't imagine myself to be like in another touring band or. So at the beginning, I didn't think about it at all. I must say that later on, especially while I was planning this show, there was a bigger part of me that also considered like, but yeah, if you ever want to perform this live, then you've got to think about so and so and so. So I think with the more recent songs, that has been a thought on my mind. Um, and it maybe has affected the way that I build the parts a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something we talked about last time, if I remember correctly, that you weren't sure if you would like to, tour again and be a part of this machine. But
Yeah.
now that time has progressed, have you sort of changed your mind, or is this going to be like, what Arjen Lucassen does, play a couple of shows in the Netherlands that are huge, and then just
Yeah. Well, I don't, it's not going to be a one-off. Like we're putting so much in the preparation of this. Like if only for that alone, it would be a shame if we didn't take this on the road. I've given myself permission to not start planning that until we've done this show because it's a lot. to do and my brain is full. So so I will start after that. And I mean, I would like to do more Dutch shows. I would like to kind of venture around Europe, and ideally I would even love to make it to the US at one point. Yeah, but I'm not sure if I would want to do it all. I'm not sure if I want to do like 100 plus shows every year again, right? But
Yeah.
there's a middle ground somewhere that yeah. But yeah, first I'd like to do the one. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, we can talk maybe a bit later about that show, but
Sure.
what I wanted to ask about as well, and this is nothing to do with the new record, I guess, but the video for Afkicken.
Yes.
So yeah, while I was watching that video, I got some like Suspiria vibes and some other horror movies too. But since it's fall season and all that, how much of your music and maybe arts style is inspired by horror movies?
I mean, I do really like horror movies. I do not necessarily like all of them. I think liking horror movies is kind of similar to liking metal. Like there is many subgenres, and I love some of them, and I'm a little less into others. I like the type of horror movies that. Well, I like the aesthetics. Like I like the dark aesthetics, and of course, Suspiria is like that. That was one of the most intense but also visually pleasing like experiences, like aside from some of the very horrible scenes. But it was all very, very well done, very well thought out, the old one as well as the new one. Though the video for Afkikken, the styling specifically was inspired by the new one, or inspired by, it's a direct homage to that one. So is it very, are more things influenced by horror movies? Um, let's see. I think I'm often like just thinking of stories, uh, thinking of stories in my mind, and sometimes I want to write the story down, and sometimes I want it to be a song, you know?
Yeah.
So I think in general, like the books I read and the movies I watch, and the shows you watch, they have an influence on what you do. And sometimes it's just like, oh, I'm vibing um in this aesthetic, or in this, or in the general feeling of it, and that is where you make a song that is like not directly inspired by it, but you were in that mood. And sometimes it's more of a direct thing. There's actually I do have another thing coming out soon on like a Bandcamp compilation. It's a compilation called The Taste of Teeth. It's put together by Peter van der Ploeg. That song is called Vigor and Valor, and it was actually, I made it right after watching like season 4 of Stranger Things. And there was this I found this, I was just working and I found this very ominous sounding bell sample, and it reminded me of like the clock in Stranger Things, of like Vecna's clock. So, and then that bell was kind of like the starting point for writing the song. So, in that way, yeah, it's not like Stranger Things, but it's like, oh, I'm really feeling this bell right now because I've just, so
Yeah.
in that way, things inspire me very easily. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I guess one obvious difference that changed in your life is, I guess, your hair. And normally I don't address this, but I think, first of all, I think it's really cool. And
Thank
I
you.
hear a lot where people do a buzz cut that it's like very liberating. But I was wondering, is that something specifically you did for the music video, or were you like, did you have that idea already earlier that you wanted to try that out?
I guess, I mean, I shaved half of my head for quite some time, and I I thought about the buzz cut, but it was too much of, like, without a good reason to do it. It always felt like too much of a risk for me. Like, yeah, but what if it looks bad? You'll spend so much time like growing it back. And when we were writing the script for Afkikken, that was when we were contemplating, like, how do we make me look as miserable and as possible in that scene where I'm kind of ready to be sacrificed to the monsters, as you do, you know. So we were thinking, like, how do we make me look like super miserable there, and how do we give it like more impact, like more of a shock factor to it. And it was like, we could cut off all my hair, you know, because I kill her with the scissors. It's like punishment. This is a very weird conversation if people haven't seen the video, by the way. But yeah, go watch the video. So yeah, we thought that it would just have a great impact. And I was like, you know what, all for the arts. I did hesitate for a while, but like 2 days before the video, I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And yeah, a lot of the things about it are true. Like, it does feel really liberating. It was kind of weird the first couple of days because I kept looking in the mirror and I didn't really I was like, who's that? Oh, it's me, you know? So that was really weird. But I got used to it pretty quickly. I liked the idea. I liked having fun with it. I kind of like that it's having a life of its own now. And I will enjoy going through all the phases. I also really enjoy that all of the people who were complaining about my nose ring before are now complaining about my lack of hair. I mean, the get rid of the nose ring was getting boring, you know. So now we have something new. Um, yeah. So yeah, it is liberating in a sense. Yeah.
It's a shame that people still, continue complaining about the way you look. Like, it's 2022. You think that sort of would stop? No.
It's also like so self-centered because if someone says like, oh, this is not my favorite look on you or whatever, or if I would actually ask like, what do you think? And someone says, nah, it's not for me. And it's like, fine. But the amount of people who really kind of saying this really demanding tone, like, grow back your hair. I don't like you with short hair. It's like, I don't tell you how to wear your hair. Like, this is weird. What do you think? What do you think this is? How do you think this works? This is none of your concern, really. But apparently it is for some people, which makes me kind of sad for them.
Yeah, it is, I guess.
Yeah.
We have not really much life.
And also I wonder if they realize, because I think it's so annoying. Honestly, the more people shout like, grow back your hair, oh my God, this is horrible, the more that actually I am tempted to leave it like this just to annoy them. And also another thing, like, it has been growing, you know, like, what do they want me to do, grow it faster? Like, it's yeah, it's just really weird. The sort of things that people choose to get like super upset about.
Yeah, I mean, and if they didn't realize it, maybe they will realize it now, and they will maybe change our attitude in life, hopefully.
Yeah, and also like the hair I had before was like half of it was extensions anyway. Like, I can wear a wig tomorrow if I want to. Like, it's so superficial, you know? It's yeah.
Yeah, now maybe that's, I guess, a good time to ask about next question. Well, in general, it's not been like, I guess, the best year for women around the world. There was like the voice
Dude.
scandal in the Netherlands, and then there was abortion ban in some states in the US. And then now the whole situation with Iran.
Iran. Yeah.
How much of that, I notice some songs are obviously inspired by the first two, but how much of that inspires you in general as an artist? Do you feel like you need to speak out about that?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, I feel like that. I always feel like in general, like, if you have a platform, how do you say it? Well, first of all, I feel like the personal is political, you know, whether you speak out about it or not, it's a choice. It's a political choice. If you're a musician or an artist and you're like, I just paint or I just whatever, I feel like that is, you're in a position of privilege to make that decision to not engage with it. And I think it says a lot about yeah, the amount of privilege that you probably enjoy, because um they usually do go on to say that they, you know, that their inspiration comes from their experiences and stuff, and then it's like, wow, so you mean that none of this affects you? I mean, good for you, but it's yeah. So I do think that the personal is political, and even if you don't really engage with it, that is also a form of engaging with the world around you. um So I don't really feel like I can escape from it because I also like I usually get inspired by the things around me, and sometimes those things are not good. So they make it into the songs. But even if they don't, like for example, Venus Rising, that one was inspired by uh well, it's a mix of current events, and then I was um thinking about the Venus of Botticelli, and she was like that was like a beauty ideal in those times. So it's still kind of superficial, but at the same time, I was like, oh, I'm so happy that that image is kind of frozen in time and that she didn't have to cover up or reveal more or grow herself or shrink herself or become louder or become more soft spoken, that she was just kind of always rising from the waves and kind of stuck in this perpetual movement of power, of coming into power. And I thought that that was really inspiring. Of course, when this happened, when I wrote this, um, what happened in Iran hadn't happened yet, or it was happening, but we all weren't aware of it yet. Um, but now it has. And yesterday we were recording a video for it, and all I could think about it was that, you know? So even if the song wasn't written with that specifically in mind, it was a very thought of, do we cover up or do we show ourselves? And also, by the way, in no means I'm saying that women should not cover up if they choose to. For me, it's about the personal freedom to choose what you want to do. Um, so yeah, I was just yeah, those things kind of always work their way into what you're doing, even if it's not at the same moment. Actually, something similar happened with Toxic, which, had the line of women fighting for autonomy, and that was before Roe v. Wade happened, and then now that's all I can think about with the song, because it's just sometimes I've been told like, oh, it's all these women talking about women's issues. And I mean, I did write these songs not specifically when these things were happening. And it's like, well, it wasn't even about these things. And within the span of like a few months after writing it, these super intense examples kind of happen all around you. So it's, yeah. Um, I don't know what I want to say with that, but uh, just that it is indeed very intense. That it's not you don't have to search for these kind of things happening around you. Like it's so present, sadly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess that makes your songs even more like relevant, maybe. Like it's not like you, well, you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
basically.
I mean, I do love the occasional songs about fiction and daydreaming and fantasy stuff as well. But I usually have uh, I mean, when I am daydreaming, I always get pulled back to Earth at one point, and I guess in the songs, the same thing happens. Yeah.
Yeah. Now this is just, I mean, I grew up in the 90s, so Britney Spears was a big part of that. But you share the same title with her, like Toxic. Was that at all
Yeah,
like a little nod to her? Like, hey.
it most definitely is, because actually the spark behind writing the song was I was watching the news, and there was a news segment, and it was a certain man who got spoken free. So I won't mention his name, but he's accused of raping many, many people, and he was spoken free. And the next item was about Britney's trial. And that was like, another rapist walks free while a woman fights for autonomy. That's where that one came from and started from. And I kind of like involving these kind of examples from pop culture, because I feel like the fact that they're in the media so much is, at one hand, sometimes I feel like, why is this on the news? And I feel like it distracts you from like the real topic. But on the other hand, it is like an example of women in general lacking bodily autonomy. I doubt if this same situation would have happened to a man. I don't know that. That's but so yeah, it was a reference, and it was the inspiration behind it, part of the inspiration behind it. And actually, I'm not sure if I should say it or if I'll get sued, but there's in the breakdown there is like a little bell that goes pling 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 pling, which is like the so it's there is references all over the place.
Yeah, cool. I didn't notice that. I need to like re-listen to
Yeah,
it. Yeah. So, well, speaking about another like female like icon in pop music, I had a little bit of Kate Bush vibes in the final road trip. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but are you at all inspired by her or a fan?
yeah. Yeah, I love Kate Bush. I think Kate Bush is the very reason I got into metal in the first place, because when I got singing lessons when I was 13, I had like in my school you could choose like live music or a classical music, and I was doing live music, and I said I really want to do I really only wanted to sing like high pitched songs like Kate Bush songs, Joni Mitchell songs too. And my teacher told me, I think you should do classical singing and really train yourself as a soprano, um, because it fits your voice well, and it fits better with what you want to do, really. So I did, and like the first performance that I did after, singing classical songs, I joined like my first three metal bands like at the same time. So um so yeah, Kate Bush got me into metal. I'm a big fan. Never Forever is one of my favorite albums ever.
Yeah. And it's great that because maybe like you couldn't like maybe channel that so much in DELAIN because there was more strict, boundaries of what the music and the scope of the music was. But I think in your project now you can just do whatever you want basically.
Yeah, I think the very thing that is typical to these two collections of songs that I'm putting out now is that I did not pick a genre at all. And this is to no discredit for DELAIN, because I think whenever you have like something that is established and that has put out multiple albums, like even if you don't plan, because we always felt pretty, like open-minded whenever we were writing together. But still, I keep doing the thing. But still, you know that there's expectations for what you're going to do. So I think on some level, there is steering in that process, and I right now don't even know where the steering wheel is. So
Do you
it's
feel like
nice.
yeah,
For a
yeah,
change, it's nice. Yeah.
I was just gonna ask if that is also maybe liberating in a way not to have to stick to what the fans sort of expect of you as well.
Um, Yeah, I guess in the beginning mostly, because in the beginning I felt like uh I know that you like me for this thing, and I'm going to start this page which is specifically for everything but that thing. So I knew that if people signed up that they were kind of um expecting the unexpected, so to speak. By now, since I know you like this thing that I do is no longer a thing for me, it's maybe a little bit it makes me a little bit more aware of, oh, what is the thing that people like, what is the thing that they will want to hear, which I think is inevitable too. I am a people pleaser, so I think that would have happened one way or another, just like I just said, the more that you do, the more you kind of set a precedent for yourself. um but also for myself, I'm starting, like, I've been kind of doing all of the different things because I had like this really big desire to do all of the different things. Right now, I'm thinking my next album should probably be more like a traditional album where I really kind of search for a sound for the album. So, yeah, I don't know if that's through expectations of others or through a desire of myself, or maybe a combination of both. But as long as it's a healthy combination where I feel free creatively, that's fine with me.
Is that, maybe that people pleasing thing? There were also a lot more like metal songs, or maybe more inspired by metal, on this album. Is that also something that happened because of that, maybe?
No, I think that's more because in the beginning, like I for the first record, Volume One, during the time that I was making those songs, DELAIN was still a factor in my life. And if I had an idea where I thought like, oh, this could be like a metal song or like this could be a DELAIN song, I would not finish it for the Patreon because I would save it for like DELAIN's new songwriting sessions or whatever. So in that time, I was very consciously not putting anything out that could be like a DELAIN track because that was not the idea. But now I don't. Now I obviously don't have to hold back those ideas anymore. So that's why they work their way into what I've put out on Patreon as well.
Well, we talked a little bit about your show already, but what can you tell, like what can fans sort of expect? Of course you're gonna play most of the songs, I guess, but is there something production wise that you can share?
Oh, we're doing yeah, we're doing a big thing. Like we have a really cool stage design. I will have there will be guests that I haven't announced yet. We will do some there will be some theatrics that I will not specify yet involved. Um yeah, it will be a long show. Like I'm playing almost everything from the two records, and then some. Um and it's definitely going to be a special one. Like I know that like we're preparing ourselves for this show as well as maybe the shows that follow in the future, but we're definitely going to be able to do all of the things that we're doing during this show because we are doing some special things. We're definitely not going to do all of that, be able to do all of that on upcoming shows. So yeah, it's going to be really cool. I recorded a video yesterday for the last single to be released before the record, and that will actually give a little bit of a taste of what is going to happen on the stage as well. So
All right, that's pretty exciting.
yeah.
Yeah. Bit bummed out you're not like based in Finland or whatever. That would have been more fun for everyone here, but
Yeah, well, who knows? I always keep thinking to myself if like everything is possible if things blow up. So if you want that, help me blow up.
sure, I can try.
Yeah. You're already doing your
Yeah,
part, so
exactly.
yeah.
Well, anyway, I think our time is almost up anyway. So, well, thank you for this surprisingly feminist interview as well. I hope people learned something maybe. But anyway, do you have any last thoughts you wanted to share with your fans or people who are watching this?
I would like to thank the people who are watching for watching and taking an interest. I hope they like the new record. Big shout out to the patrons, without whom the record wouldn't be there and the show wouldn't be there either. And yeah, once again, thanks for covering the records and thanks for a lovely chat. I really enjoyed it.